Hello, welcome back. This is Jeff Byers and this is Annie 150. This is module 5. We're actually taking our assets that we created, the low poly Dagger and the low poly battle axe, and we're going to add textures to it, which is the most fun part. You actually get to see all that work come to fruition when we actually go into the rendering process too. So basically it's the same exact workflow that we did with the food can, where you start with a reference, you low poly, you high poly, and then you go into you UV map, and then go into Substance Painter, send out the texture maps, and now we're at the last stage where we're adding the textures to the objects, and then we are going to add lighting in the background, and we're going to create a little scene, and then you're going to render. So we need to get back onto HDR Haven and we're going to do an outdoor scene this time because we did a studio scene. Okay, now we're going to do an outdoor scene, and it's going to be a little bit warmer, and you get to experience how to do that. So you'll have been gone through the studio setting. If I need you to render a studio, you can go back to the food can, watch those videos, and then for the rendering part and lighting, and then for this you're going to learn how to light for exterior. Okay, but I want you to create a little scene, okay, and I want you to do that. Kind of like a diorama, if you will. A diorama is basically you'll do a floor plane and maybe two walls, and have these objects lay against the wall. Would be kind of cool. So think of something you can do to show off and highlight and make it look like a portfolio piece. Okay, that's the idea. Alright, let's get started. So we're done with the high poly. We don't need those anymore, so I'm going to turn that off. We're really working with the low poly now. Alright, so here's our low poly. So is that the one that's UV mapped? Let's double check. It's also, you can see that it's not triangulated. So I'm going to go to UV editor. Okay. Alright, so that looks correct. Make sure the UVs are correct. Okay. If they're not, then you can't really use those. Alright, you can't use that one. Okay, you can only use the one that has the right UVs. And you got to double check that, otherwise you won't see your textures. That's one thing you need to really think about. So you might have other low poly daggers in here. We don't want to use this one. I know some of you guys, I don't know why, but you're forced to use the triangulated one. I really won't grade you on that. I won't grade you off on using it, but the idea is not to have to do that. Okay, remember with our food can, I only had you send me that one last image. That's why it was so important. And you're graded on that one image, so I don't need to see your screenshots anymore because you've already turned those in. You've already been graded for that. Now I'm going to grade you for lighting, texturing, and rendering. So that's what you're graded on now. And so if you have to use your low poly, I prefer you don't. But if you don't, if you have to use it, the triangulated one, that's okay. I understand. Do what you got to do to get this stuff out. And I'm cool with it. One thing I don't want you to do, though, is to use the high poly. The reason for not doing that is because it's not UV mapped. Okay, no matter what you do to this, it won't work. So no high poly. Okay, I'm clicked on the wrong one. Where's the high poly battle axe? Here we go. So that won't work. Okay, so that would defeat the whole purpose of doing a low poly asset in the first place, is to show off your high poly. Okay, so you're showing off your low poly, so get that in there. I just want to be clear on all this. Okay, so you know what to do. And then let's go in here and let's go ahead and combine that. Okay, alright, and then we're going to go in and make sure you center pivot, and then delete by type history. And if you need to, click on freeze transformations. So that should clean it up. Now I'm going to go back to UVs, double check it one more time. Yes, the UVs are there. Now I'm going to just minimize this time. Okay, and what we're going to do is start loading up the textures. Okay, so the textures are UDIM tile, so I'm going to go right click over this. Okay, I'm going to go assign new material, Here we go. Go to shader, go to AI standard surface, because that will support the UDIM tiles. And then let's name that Dagger underscore TX for texture. Okay. All right. So we're gonna go in here and we're gonna start with the color. Hit the enter key. Start with color. So I'm gonna go into the option box here. We're gonna go into file. Okay. And we're gonna go quadratic. We're gonna do off. Okay. Image name. We're going to go and find the image. You can see we've got all kinds of stuff up in here. And that's the battle axe. We're looking for the dagger. Okay, so start with the dagger. There we go. Dagger. There's the base color. Okay. All right. So, low poly dagger. And let's start with 1. I think that's a good start. So I'm looking for my dagger. Base color 1001. That's what I'm looking for. Okay, there's my base color, which looks wild. Okay, so I'm going to click on that. Alright, so there it is. And now I'm going to go to UV tiling mode. That's really important. And then click on UDIM Mari. And this is a good sign. It says it found 4 tiles found. Okay, great. Generate preview. Go ahead and click on that. Okay. Now you may not see anything different, and it may just get stuck there. It may not do anything. Okay. Don't worry. It's okay. This is sRGB for color space, and then under let's see, is that it? Color balance. Yeah. Under color balance, we do not want to have that on. Okay. All right. So that's where we're at with the first one. Okay. And so what we need to do is go back out. Okay. So hit the box with the arrow that sticks out, and then we're going to go to the next one, which is Metalness, and that's under base. Click on the option box and just continue right down the row. We're going to go off, and we're going to click on the folder. And now we're looking for, and it gets hard to find stuff because, okay, we're looking for the Substance Painter number 1, right? 1001. Okay. And so I'm looking for not the base color anymore. I'm looking for, let me do this, date modified. Maybe that'll help. There's the dagger. Okay, that's much nicer. Okay, that's easier to find. So I'm clicking on date modified up here. This is the type, this is the size, and this is the name. We could do name. And then it starts with a battle axe, and then we got the dagger here. Okay, this is it kind of goes through them all. So 1001, and I'm looking for metalness right here. So here's the metalness. Okay, that's what I want. Open. And a metalness is a little different. We're going to go into here. We're going to do the same thing with this one though. Okay. Generate, just always click on that, and this one will be raw. Okay, color space will be raw. It's going to give me a warning. That's okay. Scroll down, and this needs to be alpha is luminance. Okay, so those are the differences on this one. Okay, so we're looking for metalness. Okay, for the name. All right, find the metalness. Make sure you're getting the right one, the dagger. That's why it's really important to name these things appropriately. And then click on Mari, UDIM Mari, and then generate. Nothing really happens. It does, but you know, you don't see it. And then you click on raw, and then we want to make sure alpha is luminance is selected. Okay, so let's go back. Got that one done. The next one is roughness. Okay, this is the same thing as your food can. We're not doing anything different. Roughness is, okay, that's same thing we did with the food can. Click on file, off, and now we're looking for, let's see, the dagger again. And we're doing 1001 still. It's really important. And we're just sticking with 1001. This is the base color. Roughness right here, I found it. Right here. That's the roughness. Okay. On the first one, I'm looking for 1001. Okay. And then open that up. Okay. Being very careful which one I pick. Okay. And then UDIM Mari. Okay. And generate preview. Okay. Color space is raw. Okay, you get a warning, and then you click on alpha is luminance. Okay, we're done with that one. Okay, and you can pause the video if I'm going too fast. Okay, here we go. Alright, so I'm going to go back, click on this one. Okay, that one's done, so you can see they're all inputted now. So color, metalness, and roughness. We're almost there. We got one more to do, and that one's called the geometry. Okay, and we're going to go under bump mapping. Click on the option box, file, and we're going to go in. This time we're going to click on tangent space normals. Okay, and again I want to talk about this. So in here, if things don't look right and they look like they're pushing instead of pulling, like pushing, if they're pushing in, if it looks like the normal map is pushing things in, and it works, that's fine. But if it's pushing it out and you want it to be in, you can flip those two. Okay, you can like turn those off. Okay. Anyway, leave those on, and click on the arrow, and we're going to click off. Go into here. And again, I need to find my Dagger, and I'm looking for the last one, which is normal map. So I'm looking for the normal. There it is. And there's my, and I'm looking for particularly the 1001 for all of them, all the maps. So looking for Dagger, I'm looking for 1001. Okay. And click on that and click open. Okay, that's in there now. Okay. And then tiling mode, like we've been doing the whole time. And generate preview, and it's found 4 tiles, which is great. So what it's doing, it's basically loading that one in. Okay, and then when I click on this, it's found 4 tiles, and then when I say generate preview, it's trying to generate and put them all together. So that's what's happening. And then when I go, and we're going to color space is raw. Okay, you get a warning down there, and this is turned off. Alpha is luminance is turned off. Okay. Perfect, and you're done. That's it. Okay, and then we're going to go back. Everything looks good. Okay. Alright, so I'm going to click off here, click on this unit again, the asset, and you can see if I go in here to Dagger, okay, you can see all of the, and I'll take you through it again, the color. Okay, you put the color map in here, and it's 1001, it's the color, it's called the base color. And then we have the metalness, okay, and you want to load, 1001, the metalness, and then the roughness map is 10001, and then your bump map, which is your normal map, is 1001. So make sure you name them appropriately so you don't have any issues trying to find stuff, okay? Because Substance Painter maps, the normal map looks like the object, right? You saw that look like the blade, but a lot of times you can't tell, and so you can get really frustrated trying to find your maps. So you need to be really descriptive in your naming convention. Okay. All right, that's fantastic. So now what do we do? Well, we need to set up a scene for lighting. Okay, might as well use this scene. This is fine. Everything's ready to go. I'm going to hit the 6 key, and I still don't see, maybe I don't see it generate, I don't see it generated. Oh, I do see it. It's just really dark, okay? I do see that. So, let's go in here to renderer, and go into the viewport 2, right? And again, you can use whatever, as far as the clamping, we're going to just do automatic mapping. But here, under maximum texture resolution clamping, click on regenerate all UV tile preview textures. Okay? And what that's going to do is going to regenerate all of them. Okay? It doesn't mean that you're going to see them, instantaneously. It just means that it's going to regenerate. And I've talked to you about this before. If you see blackness, don't worry, that's normal. It's when you render, it still looks black. Then you have problems. Okay. All right. So I'm going to regenerate that, and it's going to try to regenerate this thing. There we go. And it flashed it for a second. It looked pretty good for a second, and just click off. You've done your job. Okay. It works fine. And so at this point, we need to render. Okay. So I think I talked to you guys about this before, but I'm going to go ahead and get on online real quick, and we'll go through picking out a HDR image, and I want you guys to choose one that you would like, and it's going to be an outdoor one. So and I want you guys to create your own background as well. So the whole idea here, again, explaining that we want to basically set dress our scene really quick with something. So I'm going to pause the video and get that set up, and then we'll come back. Okay, I'm online and I typed in HDR Haven, and here we are. Great place, HDRs, real quick, and we're going to do outdoors. Alright, so I want you to find one, and honestly, I want you to find one that you want to do, that you actually want to use. So you just have some fun. You find the one that you want to use. Again, please realize that if you go with a really green background, something that's foresty, your stuff is going to reflect green. Just realize that you want this to look as professional as possible. But I also want you to follow your instincts, meaning that if you have good instincts on good renders, and I'm trying to teach you that neutral is always best, right? The reason for that is because sometimes it can put your presentation in a different light if you add too many colors, right? Try to stay away from dusk scenes, okay, or nighttime scenes. I don't want to see those, okay, because it's hard to see your dagger, so, or your battle axe. So, you know, keep it in the daytime. I prefer that, okay, and try to keep away from really dark shadows, and that's usually when the sun is setting. Try to stay away from those two, okay. Those are the only specifications that I really have for you. Otherwise, have some fun and enjoy finding some really cool images, and remember all the things I've talked about. So anyway, let's pick one, and then I'll pick one, and then what you want to do is just do 2K, okay? Don't do anything more than 2K. I don't mind it being fuzzy in the background. We don't need to be doing anything crazy. So they have a lot to choose from. Have some fun with it. I'm going to pause, and I'll show you what I pick, and you can do whatever you want. Okay? Alright. Okay, I'm going to pick this one. I really like this one, and let me tell you why I like it. Because it's got shadows. I would really highly stay away from HDR images that have a cloudy sky, because you don't have any shadows. We need shadows. There's a reason why we need shadows, is because it adds depth to our scene. If you don't have shadows, and you actually create a shadow from a directional light, it looks fake, okay? So you always want to pick an HDRI image. Make sure it has shadows, and if you picked one that doesn't have shadows, please go back and find one with shadows. Okay, I'm going to pick this one here, and I'm going to go in here and just click on the 2K, which is just fine. This works just fine. This is what we did last time. So 2K, download it, and we'll use it. So when you download it, go ahead and go to Show and Finder. Right click over the arrow, or just click on the arrow and just click on Show and Finder, and click on Copy, or let's see, where are we at here? Yeah, Copy, and you need to paste it onto your Source Images folder, wherever that may be. And here it is. And Source Images, and we're going to paste that in here. There we go. And just remember what it is, what the name is. So, and you can rename that if you'd like. Oh, it's going to try to open it up. I didn't mean to do that. Okay. And there it is. All right. I don't want to do anything in Photoshop with it. That was an accident. So I'm going to right click over it and go to rename. That's what I wanted to do. And let's just rename, wait a minute, that's not the right one. There we go. Rename that to be Dagger Axe HDR. Okay. And just keep it like that. We're just renaming it. We're not redoing anything. Okay, so Dagger HDR 2K. Alright, so we're good to go. Now the next thing we're going to do is in Maya, let's turn these off, is we need to have a good starting point, right, with this. So the idea is you could go in here. We had such good luck with the food can. Why not use the starting point of those lights with the dagger that we did with the food can? It would save a lot of time. Let's go ahead and do that. Let me show you how to do that. So you want to save this scene. So save scene as, I'm going to go up in here, and this will be rendering now. I'm going to call this rendering. And this will be 16. Okay. And I'm going to save that. So because I'm going to go out of here, so I need to make sure I save what I've done so far. So make sure you do that. Okay. And then we're going to go to File, Open. Okay. Now I'm going to find my scene file. So I'm going to go to File, Set Project, and I'm going to go to the first one I did, which was food can module 1 and 2. Set that scene. I'm going to go to File, Open. I'm going to find my lighting. Why not use it? So I'm going to find the latest one I did, the one that I was happy with. Okay, that's why you always save in a sequence, right? So I've got render lighting, so I've got to look at the dates here. So I've got 8/6, and this is the last one I did. So 14 rendering lighting, 8:28 to 11 p.m. So let's go ahead in there and open that up and see what we got. Let's see what it looks like, and that looks right. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of this, get rid of this, get rid of this. Cool. And I'm going to zoom out a little bit, take a look at everything here. There's my light. Okay. Here's my floor, okay, that we had, and here's my background. So I'm going to click on that, click on my light. I'm going to hold down the Shift key, click on my light, and click on my floor plane, and that's my lighting system. Okay, so I'm going to go into File, Export Selection, okay, and it's going to be an MV file. You don't want it any other file, Maya binary, okay, and you're going to export selection, okay. Now this is going to save it to this document right here, this folder. That's not really where I want it, okay. I don't need to be in here because I already have it in here. So I'm going to go to my computer. Excuse me, I'm going to go to my documents. This is where I save all my stuff, my projects. I'm going to go to Maya. I'm going to go to projects. I'm going to go to the latest project that I'm working on now, which is Annie 150 Module 3, 4, and 5. Okay. This is our Dagger. And I'm going to go into Scenes, and this is where I'm going to put it. So I'm going to create a name. It's going to be all caps. So it's going to be lighting underscore rendering underscore say Dagger and X. Alright, and I'm going to put export on here because it's an exported object or an exported scene. Okay, lighting rendering Dagger X export selection. There we go. It might take a while, I don't know how long it will take. And then I'm going to go back into setting my project. I'm going to go into, just highlight the folder I've been working in for my Dagger. Go to File, Open Scene, and then I'm going to click on the one I just saved. This one right here. Okay, and open that one. Okay. And it's telling me, that little warning was telling me, if you want to visualize your Udemy tile system, you need to go to Renderer, Viewport, and this is what you need to do every time you open it up, and make sure the object's selected and click on Regenerate UV Tile Preview Textures. Okay, you're done. Alright, so now what you do is we're going to go to File, Import. I love the import and export function because it makes it a lot easier for me to find stuff. FBX, let's go into all, or maybe just MV files. There we go. And I'm in data. I need to be in my scenes folder. There we go. And where are we? Lighting, rendering, Dagger, export. There we go. And we're going to import that in. Okay. Wait a minute. What's this? Okay, there we go. And there we are. Look at that. It's not the right camera we had, but it works. Look at that. So at least we have a base, right? We have a base lighting system, so all ready to go. We know it worked good for, I'm not saying it's going to work good for the Dagger. I'm just saying we had a base lighting system set up already. Now we can just see what it looks like. And this helps, you know. So let's go to panels, excuse me, render, and then go to the Arnold render. Okay. And click on that. I'm not sure what's happening here. I can't see. I should have opened it up a little bit more. That's interesting. I'm going to stop in a minute. I probably locked it up. I'm going to pause the video. Wait a minute. There we go. Okay. Alright, so I'm going to turn that off. Alright. I love the renderer, but it's kind of strange. It did turn out pretty nice. I'm pretty happy. I don't like some of this junk in there, but I think that has to do with what's happened. I was messing around here. So, not too bad. So I'm going to go into the regular renderer. So let's go back to renderer and viewport. That can be a little flaky, so be careful with that. So I'm going to go back into here maybe, and if I'm going to do a renderer, a preview renderer, I'm going to click on this guy here. There we go. Much better. Okay. And let me rotate around in the scene here. Here we go. It takes a little while to refresh it. Okay, so there's our render. I'm not sure what's happening with some of this stuff right here. It could be that maybe maybe I changed my UVs, and if you did that, you may have some issues you may have to fix. But the idea is you got a nice render to get started. Okay, so let's go in here and let's replace this. Okay, since we already have it all set up, let's go ahead and replace this HDR image, right? It's easy enough to do, so click on that. And here's the one I was using before. Okay, it's in there. I'm going to go into this guy right here, and it's pulling from the food can. Okay, so I need to set my project. It looks like I need to set my project, but so let's go ahead. Let me set my project and go to this one right here, set project. There we go. And I may pull again. It may not pull properly. Yeah, it's still pulling from that. So I'm going to go to documents and go into my Maya folder, projects, and I need to pull it in from here, my source images, and you can see there's my new one. Pretty cool. Open that up. There we go. So that's going to give us a different render. Okay. And since it's a new one, I don't know if we need to change. Yeah, it looks like we need to change some things in here. So let's go into our object here. Here we go. 0.25. It looks like it kept everything that I wanted. Looks good. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit more. and find out where the lighting is coming from. That's the first thing. Remember we talked about that. So what I do with that again is I'm just going to go ahead and scale that up about as big as the globe, and then I'm going to rotate that and get it set up just about right and follow the light rays of that sun there. I'm going to put that middle line right into that middle of that sun. Okay, try to get that lined up the best I possibly can, otherwise we'll get some strange shadows going on there. Just kind of rotate around until you get it just the way you want to. There we go. I'm lining that up pretty close. That looks pretty good. Okay, I think I lined that up pretty good. Right, then we make it smaller again, so it's easy to manipulate and move around. There we go, and then just move it up a little bit so it's not right in the middle. We don't want to select it all the time. Okay, so that should give us our shadow, right? And let's go ahead and we need to make some tweaks and stuff like that. And don't worry about if you see any issues with my texture. It's probably because, let me go back in here. It's probably because I'm not using the right one. And if I have to, I'll use the low poly triangulated one for rendering. That's okay. Like I said, you just have to apply the texture to it. Okay, so here you have the low poly dagger. It's got the textures on it already. There's nothing you really need to do. If I right click over it and go to assign existing material, you see that it should be in here. The new one that I just put in here, Dagger texture. There's the Dagger texture, right? That's the one I just put on. Okay, so I'm not going to select it. And then if I click off of this and click on my low poly, where's my? Looks like that one needs to go in here. Okay, and then my high poly. There's my low poly triangulated one. Let's say this is the one that I sent out, and then these are the UVs that match, right, properly. You can try that one. If the other one doesn't work, and this is how you do it, you click on it, right click over it, and go to existing material, and click on Dagger texture, and not have to go through that again, and it applies the texture to it. Now you may have to go in here and make sure it's selected and go to renderer, and into the viewport to renderer, and you may need to regenerate the tiles to see it again. But anyway, that's how you can fix little things like that if things aren't working with the low poly. Okay. Alright, so let's go ahead and do a quick render on this. Render with that. There we go. Okay, I still have some issues, and I might have to go back into Substance Painter and find out what's wrong. But there it is. There's our render. And you see we have our shadow. So what I want you to do is just like what we did before. I want you to go in and create maybe a wall or something like that to have like a scene, okay? That you have for this. And I don't care what you do, but you'll need to use your HDR image, right? Okay, as a background. And if you need more light, this is brighter. This needs to be a little bit brighter. Okay, so these are things you can work on. So I'm going to click on this guy right here, and then we'll turn the exposure up double for exposure, and then for intensity. And you can see that it will get brighter. There we go. So we needed it to be an outdoor image, so we probably need to go even higher. Let's go up 2. So 7.7. Okay, there we go. Now we're getting it. Okay, 0.7. There we go. Good. The intensity now it's starting to come up. That looks much, much nicer. A lot cleaner. And I can zoom in a little bit more and find out what the heck is wrong with this. I don't understand. And I'll figure that out. Let me move up a little bit. There's definitely an issue right here, and I'll find out. And I'll go back into Substance Painter and find out what happened. But other than that, I think it looks pretty good. I keep wanting to go. And the texture on the blade I'm not too happy with. So, you know, these are things that I have to figure out myself, right? Just like you have to figure them out. You know, if things go wrong, then you need to go and problem solve them and fix them and find out what's wrong and why it's not doing that. And I'll fix them and problem solve it. Or I might even go back into Substance Painter and retexture it. It's not a big deal. Once you know how to do stuff, you can definitely do that. Go back and make those changes. Okay. So again, we need, and I could take you through just, you know, basically just create a plane and rotate it. That can be your wall, you know, whatever you'd like. Okay, but you need to make it so you don't see the background. That's one thing I don't want to see, is the background this time. Okay, and it's easy to do. You can make this as small as you want, and that will be your wall. Just so I don't see the background. I don't really want to see the background. And you can make that as big as you want, or small as you want, or whatever. And I just want to see kind of a perspective. And if you need two walls, then you need two walls. Okay? Alright, so I'm going to duplicate that wall, move it over and rotate it. We just want something different than what we had before. You know, I think you're understanding what I want, and you'll be able to see my finalized picture and image, what I came up with. And that's kind of what I want, something like that. And again, I'm going to go ahead and, it's pretty generic right now, but I want you to do your own thing, and you'll be able to see what I come up with, and everybody's going to have something different. Okay. And it's like, I don't like that shadow right there, but there's ways of fixing that. You can rotate the whole entire thing if you want to, but you get the idea what's happening here. Okay. Alright, great. And if you don't mind that shadow, I just don't want the shadow to be on the object. So what I would do with that, probably rotate the box, these pieces, nothing else. Just rotate the box so you don't see the shadows anymore. We can group those together, so that's probably a better way of doing it. Or delete by type history. Nope, that won't work. Or do that. Nope, that won't work either. So what we can do is to move the whole thing together is hit the G key, group it, okay, and then you can move it by going to Windows, Outliner, and then clicking on the group. See, there's the lighting, rendering, Dagger, axe. Oh, it didn't group it. Let's hit the Control G, I think. Yep, Control G. So Control G will group it. And now when you click on the group, you can move it like that. So I can move it so it's not going to be a problem with the lighting. There we go. So we won't see shadows. There we go. That'll be a little better. Okay. So when I render again, you won't see those shadows. You'll see your dagger. There we go. Cool. And I'm hoping to see some different textures. Like you'll have go into Substance Share and find a substance material that you can put on there of a brick wall, right? And then maybe a concrete floor. That's what I'm going to have when I finally finish all this. But that's basically, and I want you to tweak out your lighting. You know enough about lighting. If you need to watch the food can rendering, you sure can, the video. This is about as far as I'm going to take you. There's some things I want to fix and actually create. And you guys can do those. You have enough skill and enough knowledge to go back into Substance Painter. You can bring this wall in, just like I did just make sure you triangulate it. Bring your walls in, get them textured, bring them back and add the textures to it by just following the same process I did for the dagger. So you know everything you need to know about how to create stuff, and so now it's up to you to create a scene that's similar to what I have here, but textured. Okay, and I want you to texture it your way. I want you to texture. I want to see your style. I want to see what you come up with. Okay. All right. So I want to wish you the best of luck, and check out the turn-in instructions. And this is it. This is the last video. and you know you need to render certain renders for me, and I want you to rotate the object. Now we just want one final render per one, so you'll have a final render at full 1080 HD, and I need a front perspective, okay, of the dagger, and I need a front perspective of the battle axe, and it needs to be well composed. Okay, so you need to make sure that you have your mask on and it's well composed, and you give yourself enough time for rendering. It could take a while. And again, you know the Arnold settings, right, for full render. So when you go into Arnold, so when you go to render settings, your Arnold renderer needs to be set up at between 5 and 6 here, 5 or 6, and these need to be 3, 3, 3, and 3. Well, keep that too. So 6, 3, 3, 3, and then in here under ray depth, you can do 12 and 2 and 2 and 10 and 12. Now only do this, okay, when you're ready to create your final render. Don't do this on preview renders. Don't do this on test renders, okay? Only on your final render, and then your comments tab for your final render will be 1080, full screen 1080, HD 1080, and that's pretty much it. And then you'll do a render, and it will take a long time, but you're only going to do one for the dagger, fully textured, and one for the battle axe, fully textured. Okay? Alright, I wish you the best of luck, and just like the food can, you have 2 objects this time though, and I'll expect 2 renders, beautiful renders from you, and make sure they're not too dark, not too bright, and then you can look at what I have and just kind of match and see what you guys can do. Alright, I'm excited to see your work, and I'll see you guys, no, Module 6, something brand new. It'll be cool, it'll be fun. I'll see you then.